Hollywood's humanitarian queen, A Journey of Faith. Welcome back to another deep dive. Today's spotlight is on none other than Hollywood icon and humanitarian, Angelina Jolie. Known worldwide for her striking performances and even more compelling activism, Jolie has once again taken the world by surprise. But this time, it's not because of a blockbuster film or political stance. It's something far more intimate and deeply personal. Multiple reports have surfaced suggesting that Angelina Jolie has embraced Islam, and the alleged statement she made shortly after that decision, it's caused waves across continents, drawing admiration, skepticism, and intense global curiosity. Let's rewind and examine the arc of this fascinating transformation. Jolie's journey has always been unconventional. From her early days as a rebellious Hollywood misfit, marked by tattoos, tumultuous relationships, and avant-garde film roles, to her evolution into an Oscar-winning actress and globally respected humanitarian, Jolie has never fit into neat categories. She's not just an actress. She's a force. In her roles as a UNHCR Goodwill Ambassador and later Special Envoy, Jolie spent over 2 decades visiting war-torn areas and refugee camps, particularly across the Middle East, Africa, and South Asia. Her missions were not just photo ops. She studied, listened, and immersed herself in cultures that Western media often marginalize. It was during these years, according to sources close to her, that she began to explore Islam beyond headlines and stereotypes. She became increasingly drawn to its emphasis on discipline, family bonds, spiritual reflection, charity, zakat, and modesty, values she reportedly began incorporating into her lifestyle even before any formal declaration of faith. In interviews over the years, Jolie hinted at a growing disillusionment with Western consumerism and Hollywood's moral ambiguity. She once said, "The more I travel, the more I realize how little we actually understand each other. Real power isn't fame, it's empathy." So, for many watching closely, this rumored conversion isn't entirely unexpected. But it's still massive. When she allegedly confirmed in private, within a circle of friends and humanitarian colleagues, that she had formally embraced Islam, the reactions were immediate and explosive. The entertainment industry buzzed. Faith leaders began offering public commentary, and social media practically erupted. But what exactly did she say that's now being called dangerous? Before we go there, it's important to understand something about public figures and faith. When a global celebrity like Angelina Jolie makes a spiritual pivot, it challenges the norms, especially when that shift contradicts mainstream narratives. Jolie's influence reaches millions, perhaps even billions, and her personal decisions often evolve into powerful social signals. In the alleged statement, originally shared in confidence but leaked through what's believed to be a journalist within her advocacy network, Jolie didn't just reveal her faith. She took a critical stance on Western materialism, decried the spread of misinformation about Islam, and emphasized the urgency of compassion across religious and cultural boundaries. To quote part of what's been circulating online, "This isn't about abandoning one world for another. It's about confronting the emptiness I've seen in so much privilege, and finding wholeness where others least expect it. If we can't love and protect each other beyond borders and belief systems, then what's the point of all our progress?" Those words weren't just spiritual, they were political, cultural, and deeply human. And that's why this moment isn't just a headline about a celebrity's religion. It's a call to reflection, a spotlight on the power of faith, and a challenge to global assumptions. So, what does this mean for her fans? For her critics? For the broader cultural conversation? That's exactly what we're unpacking next. The statement that shook the West. Now let's get into the heart of the storm, the moment everything changed. The alleged statement, originally said to be shared with close friends during a private gathering, was reportedly leaked by a journalist with ties to one of Jolie's inner circles. What was meant to be a heartfelt expression of personal transformation soon became front-page news, lighting up headlines, comment sections, and panel debates across the globe. It reads, "I have found a peace in Islam that I've searched for my entire life. In the silence of prayer and the structure of its values, I've finally felt whole. But what troubles me is not the faith I found, but the ignorance, fear, and propaganda that surrounds it in the Western world. If we can champion freedom of speech and choice, why is faith so controversial when it wears a veil?" Those words hit like lightning. It wasn't just a confession, it was a challenge. And for many in the Western media, Jolie's words weren't just personal reflections. They were a direct and pointed critique of Islamophobia, something rarely addressed so openly by a mainstream Hollywood figure. To some, this was a brave act of truth-telling. To others, it was an incendiary move. Critics on conservative platforms wasted no time. They accused her of being brainwashed, politically naive, or even anti-Western. Several anchors and columnists labeled her a symbol of misplaced empathy, claiming she was aligning with a controversial ideology during a time of increasing global tension. Others questioned whether she had been influenced by time spent in refugee camps or on film sets in predominantly Muslim regions. Some even went as far as calling her words reckless. But if there's one thing Angelina Jolie is known for, it's a fearlessness in the face of backlash. In a further portion of the leaked statement, she reportedly said, "My children have grown up around different faiths, Christianity, Buddhism, and now Islam. They are being taught to respect all paths. I believe faith, when practiced with love, can heal broken societies. But when we demonize an entire belief system for the actions of extremists, we are no better than the monsters we fight." That line, "We are no better than the monsters we fight," was a spark that really set the fire. Critics called it a false equivalence. Supporters hailed it as moral clarity. In truth, it was a provocation designed to make people think. The internet, predictably, exploded. Twitter threads debated her meaning. YouTube videos popped up overnight, with analysts breaking down every word. News outlets from CNN to Al Jazeera offered interpretations. Hashtags like #AngelinaJolieMuslim, #JolieFaithShift, and #FaithIsPersonal trended for days. Across religious communities, reactions varied. Prominent Islamic scholars praised Jolie's message as deeply insightful, calling her words a reflection of what Islam truly stands for: peace, introspection, and unity. Meanwhile, certain Christian leaders expressed discomfort, though some progressive voices welcomed her openness to interfaith harmony. Among the general public, reactions ranged from inspirational to infuriated. Jolie's millions of followers on social media began asking their own questions about faith, identity, and the media's role in shaping religious narratives. This wasn't just another celebrity confession. It was a trigger point, because when a figure of Jolie's global stature uses a voice to spotlight cultural double standards, the ripples aren't small, they are tidal. She challenged the very fabric of Western liberal hypocrisy, a society that claims to protect freedom of religion but often frowns upon visible expressions of Islam. And in the middle of all this noise, one truth stood tall, undeniable, and loud. Angelina Jolie had sparked a global conversation, not just about her personal beliefs, but about our collective biases, our fears, and our ability to accept what we don't understand. Reaction from the world, supporters, and critics clash. So, how did the world react? Starting with the Muslim world, many were not just surprised, they were moved. Angelina Jolie, a global icon known for her humanitarian missions, taking steps toward Islam? For many, it felt like a moment of recognition, a symbol that the core values of Islam, peace, charity, and inner discipline, were finally being seen and accepted by someone in the spotlight. It wasn't just about celebrity. It was about cultural connection. Social media in Muslim-majority countries like Indonesia, Pakistan, Turkey, Malaysia, and Egypt saw a massive surge in hashtags like #WelcomeSisterAngelina and #IslamIsPeace. Prominent Islamic scholars took to platforms like YouTube and Instagram to issue video messages, praising her openness and encouraging others to understand that faith is a journey. Imams and female scholars highlighted her choice as a testament to Islam's appeal to thinkers, artists, and reformers. Religious leaders from Al-Azhar University in Egypt and even a few imams in the UK publicly welcomed her, urging followers to be respectful and avoid idolizing the moment. "It is not about a celebrity becoming Muslim," one said, "but about the doors this moment opened for dialogue and understanding." In addition, Islamic charities and women-led community groups in the Middle East extended open invitations for Jolie to speak, collaborate, or even visit religious learning centers. She was being embraced not just as a newcomer, but as someone who might become a voice for spiritual empathy across divides. But across the globe, in more conservative and reactionary parts of the Western media and political establishment, the response was starkly different and much colder. Several mainstream news pundits in the US and UK use their platforms to criticize Jolie's shift, calling it confusing, reckless, or a publicity stunt. Commentators on right-wing talk shows questioned her mental state, her motivations, and her influence on youth. One high-profile political figure even said, "When Hollywood icons start turning toward ideologies that are in conflict with our constitutional values, it raises serious red flags." Social media also reflected this divide. While many users supported her right to faith, others hurled insults, with some going as far as accusing her of betraying Western feminism and glorifying a religion they misunderstand. Memes, misinformation, and conspiracy theories quickly spread across fringe forums and Facebook groups. Even her personal life became fuel for criticism. Questions about how this would impact her children's upbringing, custody dynamics with ex-husband Brad Pitt, and her future roles in Hollywood all began surfacing in gossip tabloids and morning news shows. And then there's Hollywood, a place that thrives on personal branding and marketable identities. In the film industry, reactions were mixed and carefully curated. While many of her peers remained silent in public, some showed subtle signs of solidarity. A few dropped heart emojis on her posts. Others reposted old pictures of their collaborations with her. Some industry insiders, however, confess anonymously that Jolie may now find it harder to land certain roles or sponsorships, especially in franchises that rely on mainstream public perception. It's important to understand that Hollywood, despite its progressive mask, can be quietly cautious when it comes to religious shifts, especially toward Islam. Yet, Angelina Jolie, she's always thrived outside the lines. Whether it was adopting children from war-torn countries, directing war dramas instead of rom-coms, or giving up high-profile roles to work in refugee camps, controversy has never scared her. This latest chapter, it doesn't feel like a branding stunt. It feels like a personal revolution, a silent, powerful declaration that she is following a path not dictated by fame, fans, or the media, but by faith, values, and her own inner compass. Faith, feminism, and freedom, the layers behind the choice. What makes this moment even more complex is the intersection of faith and feminism, two forces that have often been portrayed as incompatible, especially in Western discourse when it comes to Islam. Angelina Jolie has long been a symbol of female empowerment. From advocating for women's rights in war zones to founding initiatives for education and gender equality, she has walked the walk. Her speeches before the UN, her campaigns against sexual violence in conflict areas, and her consistent challenge to patriarchal systems across global institutions have earned her respect as a feminist trailblazer. And yet, with her alleged conversion to Islam, or at least a deep appreciation for its values, Jolie has flipped the narrative. Many Western narratives have historically painted Islam as repressive toward women. Veils, modesty, obedience, these are often misunderstood as tools of control rather than symbols of choice and spiritual identity. So for Jolie to say publicly that she has found peace, purpose, and empowerment in Islam, that hit hard. She didn't tiptoe around the subject either. In one part of a leaked statement, she reportedly said, "People ask me how I can be both a feminist and a Muslim. I tell them, Islam has taught me dignity. It doesn't diminish me. It reminds me of my worth." That wasn't just a personal declaration. It was a cultural challenge, a defiance of the media's portrayal of Islam, a call for women to reclaim their own definitions of freedom and power. Boom, another cultural grenade. Women's rights organizations around the world responded, some with praise, others with skepticism. Those who supported her applauded her for highlighting the diversity within Islam, particularly the voices of Muslim women who've been speaking on this for years but have often been ignored in mainstream spaces. Jolie, with her massive platform, had just amplified them. Scholars and authors began quoting her in articles and discussions. Muslim feminists from regions like North Africa, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East posted heartfelt responses. One prominent activist tweeted, "Angelina didn't speak for us. She spoke with us. That's the difference. That's solidarity." But not everyone was pleased. Critics argued that she was romanticizing a religion they still associate with male dominance and oppression. Some even accused her of adopting a stance that betrayed Western liberal values. Others warned that she was endangering her legacy and risking alienation from parts of the entertainment industry. And yet, Jolie never claimed to be perfect. She didn't present Islam as a fixer or paint herself as a saint. Instead, her words, whether you agree with them or not, invited reflection. Could it be that we've misunderstood Islam through a Western lens tainted by fear and selective narratives? Could it be that empowerment looks different for different people, and that's okay? Think about it. How often does a Hollywood A-lister put their career, reputation, and influence on the line for a spiritual truth? Not for a role, not for PR, but for something they believe in deeply? Whether or not Jolie intended to, she's redefined what public faith can look like. She's opened up a conversation long overdue, that faith and feminism are not mutually exclusive, and that spirituality doesn't have to come at the cost of independence or strength. In fact, for some, it's where both begin. And perhaps the most powerful layer of the story is not just her faith, but the freedom to choose it. What's next for Jolie? And for us? So where does this leave us? Angelina Jolie hasn't issued a formal press conference. She hasn't posted an Instagram video or given a red carpet interview about her reported conversion. In an era where every whisper becomes a trending topic, that silence is powerful. It might not be avoidance, it might be intentional. Because sometimes, faith doesn't need a spotlight, it needs sincerity. What we do know, from several close sources and leak reports, is that Jolie is shifting her focus behind the scenes. Her rumored next steps include collaborating with faith-based charities in war-torn regions, especially in areas like Yemen, Gaza, and Syria, places where she has long been involved through her UN work. But now, there seems to be a deeper spiritual motivation behind her activism. Another initiative she's allegedly exploring is the launch of interfaith educational programs in Western schools. The idea? To help young people better understand Islam beyond the headlines, beyond the stereotypes. She believes, according to reports, that education is the greatest antidote to ignorance. And if there's one thing Jolie has always championed, it's justice and awareness. And then there's the buzz around a potential memoir. Yes, insiders claim Jolie may be documenting her spiritual journey from Hollywood glamour to humanitarian crisis zones, and now to a personal awakening of faith. If true, this book could be more than a celebrity tell-all. It could become a cultural touchstone, especially in a time when faith conversations are often tinged with politics and fear. But even without a public declaration, the impact is already echoing. Media outlets continue to dissect her rumored comments. Faith communities are discussing them in sermons and forums. Even her critics have been forced to pause and reevaluate long-held assumptions. Jolie has, perhaps unintentionally, sparked a conversation about freedom of belief, the power of personal transformation, and the right to explore spiritual identity, even in the public eye. What's remarkable is how this moment isn't just about Angelina Jolie. It's about us. It's about our society, our prejudices, our openness, our discomfort with change. It challenges us to ask, can someone of influence genuinely explore faith without being labeled or vilified? Are we ready to hear from someone whose journey doesn't fit into neat cultural boxes? And if a global icon like Angelina can walk this path, what does that say about the evolving relationship between fame and faith? Love her or criticize her, one thing is clear. Angelina Jolie has made a choice. A personal one. A powerful one. And yes, maybe even a dangerous one in today's polarized climate. But it's a choice that resonates, inspires, and provokes thought, and that's what makes it truly significant. So now the question is, are we ready? Are we ready to listen without judgment? To understand without assumptions? To reflect, not just on her words, but on our own views of faith, identity, and transformation? Let us know what you think in the comments. Was this a courageous move? A misguided one? Did it challenge your views? Or open a new perspective you hadn't considered before? And as always, like, share, and subscribe for more fearless deep dives into global icons, cultural shifts, and the powerful intersections where fame meets faith, controversy meets truth, and silence speaks volumes.